Title: I drive the graveyard shift in Chicago. Last night, I picked up a fare that didn't have a Z-axis. I've been driving a cab and later rideshare for about 12 years. You see everything in this job. I've had people give birth in my back seat. I've had guys bleeding out from gunshot wounds asking to go to their ex's house instead of the hospital. And I've had drug deals go south while I'm idling at a red light. You develop a callus over your empathy. You learn to look at the road, check the app, and ignore the breathing in the back seat. But I've never wanted to quit. Not until last Tuesday. It was raining. That freezing, miserable Chicago sleet that makes the streetlights smear across the windshield like oil paint. It was 3:14 a.m. That pinged. Pickup. Industrial Ave, near the old textile district. Passenger. User. No rating. Usually I skip the no-name profiles, but it was a slow night and I needed to make rent. I turned the heater up and headed toward the industrial park. It's a dead zone at night, just rows of brick warehouses, chain-link fences, and shadows that stretch too far. I pulled up to the pen. There was nobody there, just a flickering sodium lamp buzzing overhead and a brick wall covered in graffiti. I waited. 1 minute. 2. I was about to cancel and drive off when I saw him. He didn't walk out from behind a dumpster. He didn't step out of a door. He peeled. That's the only way I can describe it. It looked like he peeled himself off the brick wall. One moment he was a shadow against the graffiti. The next he was standing on the sidewalk. But something was wrong. My brain couldn't process it immediately. It hurt to look at him, like looking at an optical illusion. One of those magic eye posters that makes you nauseous. He was wearing a trench coat and a fedora. Cliché, right? But the way the light hit him was impossible. He walked toward the car. Walked isn't the right word. He slid, and as he moved, his profile didn't change. You know how when someone turns, you see the curve of their shoulder, the depth of their chest? He turned, and he just flipped, like a card in a deck. 1 second, he was facing me. The next, he was facing the car, but he had no thickness. I rubbed my eyes, thinking the lack of sleep was finally inducing hallucinations. I unlocked the doors. He reached for the handle. This is the part that I can't stop thinking about. When a normal person grabs a handle, their fingers wrap around it. His hand didn't wrap. It folded. It creased over the handle like a piece of wet paper. The door opened. He got in. "West," he said. The voice didn't come from a throat. It sounded like the noise you hear when you tear a thick piece of canvas layered over the static of a dead radio channel. It vibrated in my teeth. I looked in the rearview mirror to get a look at him. The back seat was empty. I whipped my head around. He was sitting there, staring straight ahead. I looked back at the mirror. Empty. "Sir?" I asked, my voice cracking. "The reflection angles rely on geometry. I do not have the necessary geometry to participate in your optics. Drive."
I put the car in drive. My hands were shaking so bad I could barely grip the wheel. "Where specifically? I need an address for the GPS." "Just west, away from the angles. Drive until the road stops curving." I pulled out onto the main road. The car felt different. Usually with a passenger, you feel the weight shift, the suspension dip. But the car felt unbalanced. Not heavy, just wrong. Like the air pressure in the back seat had dropped to 0. I tried to keep my eyes on the road, but the peripheral vision of him was driving me insane. He looked like a cardboard cutout sitting in my nice leather seats. But unlike cardboard, he moved. He was fluid, rippling. When the car went over a bump, he didn't bounce, he undulated. "So," I said, trying to let the mundanity of small talk anchor me to reality, "you from around here?" He turned his head toward me. I slammed on the brakes. I couldn't help it. It was a reflex. When he turned his head, I didn't see the side of a face. I saw a line. A razor-thin, impossibly sharp vertical line hovering in the air. He had rotated 90 degrees, and because he had no depth, he had effectively disappeared, leaving only a slice in reality. The car behind us hunked, swerving around us. "Jesus Christ," I whispered. The line widened again as he rotated back to face me. His face, if you could call it that, was a swirling mess of charcoal grays and blacks, sketchy and frantic. He had eyes, but they were just flat white circles. No pupils, no soul. "Do not stop," the tearing voice commanded. "They can see the vertices when we are stationary." Who is they? I accelerated, running a red light. The terror was starting to set in, a cold, heavy stone in my gut. "The cubes," he said, and the disdain in his voice was palpable. "The bloated ones, the three-dimensional tyrants who hoard the depth." "Okay, look," I said, gripping the wheel. "I don't know what kind of art project, performance art stuff this is, but you're freaking me out. I'm just a guy trying to make rent." He leaned forward. Schlick. A sound like scissors gliding through silk. "My seat!" I yelled. He had placed his hand on the leather upholstery between us. Where his hand touched the seat, the leather was sliced clean open. The foam underneath was split as if by a scalpel. "I apologize," he said, lifting his hand. "I am sharper than I should be here. Your world is so soft, so full of unnecessary space, it is difficult not to cut through it." I stared at the slash in the seat. It was perfect, microscopically perfect. "What are you?" I asked. "I am a fugitive. I committed a heresy. I tried to imagine up." He pointed a jagged finger at the roof of the car. "In my home, there is only forward, backward, left, and right. Up is a myth. Up is madness. But I was a mathematician. I calculated the existence of a third axis. I spoke of it, and for my crime, I was pushed." "Pushed?" I asked. "Pushed out, ejected from the plane. I fell. I fell for an eternity through the void until I landed here, in this bloated, grotesque kingdom of spheres and cylinders." He sounded nauseous. "It is disgusting," whispered he. "You are all so open. I can see your insides, driver. From where I sit, I can see the blood pumping in your ventricles. I can see the lunch you ate digesting in your stomach, because you are 3D, and I am viewing you from a perspective you cannot comprehend. You are entirely exposed to me." My skin crawled. I buttoned my jacket, an irrational attempt to cover myself. "You said you're running from something?" "The angles," he said. "The enforcement. They are trying to flatten me back down. If they catch me here, they will not just take me. They will collapse the Z-axis of this vehicle." As if on cue, the streetlights ahead of us flickered and died. Total darkness for a second. Then the sound. Crunch. It sounded like a hydraulic press crushing a soda can. I looked in the rearview mirror, forgetting it was useless for him, and saw the road behind us. It wasn't just dark, it was gone. The streetlights, the buildings, the road, they were folding, like a pop-up book being closed. The world behind us was flattening into a single two-dimensional line. The depth was being sucked out of the universe.
"Drive!" he screamed. The sound was like a sheet of metal being ripped in half. I slammed the accelerator. The taxi engine roared. We were doing 80 in a 35. "What is happening?" I yelled. "They are deleting the depth. Go! You must find a seam." "A seam? What the hell is a seam?" "A flaw in the texture. A place where the third dimension is weak. I can slip through." I drifted around a corner, my tires screaming. I looked to my left. A parked car on the side of the road got hit by the wave. It didn't explode, it just became a sticker. 1 second it was a Honda Civic. The next it was a perfectly flat image of a Honda Civic plastered onto the pavement. The horror of it was indescribable. It wasn't violent in the traditional sense. It was just incorrect. It violated the laws of physics so hard my brain started to ache. "Where?" I screamed. "The bridge," he pointed. "The architecture is old. The geometry is tired. There." He meant the old steel drawbridge over the river. It was a mile away. The flattening wave was gaining on us. I could feel it. The air pressure in the car was skyrocketing. My ears popped. My nose started to bleed. "I can't make it!" "You must, or you will become a drawing!" I floored it. The speedometer hit 90. The city outside was blurring, but not from speed. The buildings were losing their corners. The world was becoming low poly, smooth and featureless. We hit the ramp to the bridge. The tires left the ground for a second. "There!" he shrieked. "Between the girders! The shadow!" I saw it, a spot on the bridge where the shadows of the steel beams created a complex, cross-hatched pattern. To me, it looked like darkness. To him, it looked like a door. "I have to stop?" "No, you cannot stop. I must jump." "At 90 miles an hour?" "Inertia is relative to mass. I have no volume. Just open the door." I reached across, risking my hand getting sliced by his razor-wire aura, and unlatched the back door. The wind roared in, but it didn't swirl. It hit him and flowed around him, like water around a rock. "Do not look back, driver," he said. His voice was quieter now, less distorted. "Or your eyes will be trapped in the page." "Go!" I yelled. He threw himself out.